Welcome back, everyone, to the North American Challengers League. We've now had time to finally process everything that went over. We've caught our breaths. Come on, with me. A deep one. And now we can move on to our next match. And our final match of the day, which is going to be TSM Challengers versus Wildcard. Wildcard, I mean, this is a pretty important match for them. TSM Challengers not looking at the top echelon, and Wildcard, they're still looking for that undefeated week to keep it running.
Yeah, the way that Wildcard have been playing, it is very possible for them to look for another undefeated week we're kind of looking at, but it is not going to be an easy thing, right? Just as we were saying, a lot of the challenger teams need to give the provisional teams a little bit more respect. Wildcard can't step off the gas. They need to make sure that they are continuing to play at peak form.
They've taken the gas pedal and just punched it right through the vehicle, man, with how fast they're going. I mean, you saw the Garen clips. You saw all the memes we have there. This is bound to be a fun one because this is one of the most established organizations within the League of Legends ecosystem itself versus, you know, just some randoms in Wildcard. But what do you know? They're taking
They're going to say versus TSM. Wildcard has been around the semi-pro for a while now. They have been good as long as they've been around. Like, TSM is another organization that's been around for forever, but we shouldn't count out Wildcard just because a lot of people on this channel might not have heard of them before.
No. You count them out because it's part of the buff. You know?
Part of the buff, yeah.
The more you doubt them, the better they do.
I mean, they bring out the Zac, they bring out the Garen, and that's one of the big strengths I think that Wildcard will have, and this will be one of their big tasks going up against so many veteran players. Wildcard have been playing their own style more than any other team. It's impossible to ban out all of the niche picks that they have, so you just have to kind of pick and choose, what do you want to play against? Are we willing to play Cassante into Garen? How do you play that matchup? I don't know. I've never seen it before.
The other funny thing is not only the niche picks, but the fact that those niche picks can be flexed between some of their members. The fact that Keel and Moose Hater can both play Zac, so that when you open up with Zac as like a early on draft pick, and you're like, I don't know if this is going to be jungle. I don't know if this is going to be top lane. And then, boom, Garen gets slammed. It's like, I guess it's going to go jungle. And the next game, you're like, okay, that's Zac. It's going to go top lane, or it's going to go jungle again, right? Nope. Moose Hater also plays that as well. And so, even in the interview that Moose Hater as well, there is so much disrespect by the community overall sentiment on where he was placed in the standings. He had some spicy words in the interview to say, and now it's going to be, honestly, a tough, or I don't want to say a tough task, but this is still like a tougher opponent that maybe TSM Challengers were expecting after week one.
Yeah, Myra had told me when she was on the broadcast desk, I think it was Sunday, that you got to have this flow chart ready for Wildcard. NACL teams, something to work on. Let's pull up the rosters, starting off with TSM Challengers. Again, this is a very, very experienced team, right? Hanser, 3 LCS titles, Wild Turtle 4, Svenskeren 3 of them. Svenskeren has an Academy title on top of that one, and this is a lot of big talent to help raise both Doxa and who we will get in the future for that role, but currently just going to be Rox.
Yep. And for anybody who is unfamiliar with Rox, don't worry, we had to do some last-minute research as well. They played for Converse University during their deep run in CLOL 2022 alongside players like Scary Jerry, and then also played briefly for Zenigma Eclipse in early 2022. But they're relatively new to the competitive scene as well, and so this will be one of their introductory games and their first time playing at the Challengers League level. But Doxa is another exciting player.
And now their opponent will be Wildcard. This is a roster that we saw quite a bit of last year with the AoE Ginger Turmeric run. Now they have a pretty strong, solid mid lane piece with Saligo. I like this roster, and I like what they're doing starting off 4-0.
Dude, every time this Wildcard roster comes up now, I feel like we just have to give props to Moose Hater.
Yes.
During the Proving Grounds run, there's a lot of resources given to him, especially, I think, in that 100 Thieves Academy team at the time, upset by AoE Ginger Turmeric, and then people were talking about, is it really an upset? And Moose Hater definitely had a lot of things to say, being able to take down Tenacity in the side lane, who's now an LCS starter, but this is the Moose Hater montage that we have. It's Garen and Zac all day, every day from this guy.
Yeah, I'm they're good at such an odd set of champions, and I think it is something that has been playing into their strengths a fair bit, is that they are playing matchups where a lot of other players are not as familiar with them. And also, you know, we can't ignore it either. Anybody in chat is a Duo King fan, go ahead and spam some of your emotes there as well. I've been seeing you do it all day. You've been asking for this all day long. I'll bring them to the forefront as well. But yeah, Moose Hater has been one of these players that has been incredibly exciting for us to watch over the recent months, because it's not just the Challengers League where they started popping off. They had a really good time in the Proving Grounds last year as well.
And this was someone that everyone kind of doubted, thought wasn't really going to do too much. I mean, everyone in the space pretty much hates scrimming against Moose Hater. They hate facing Moose Hater because, like, say you're one of these challenger teams before we actually did this swap to the ecosystem, right? What does that get you? Oh, he's playing Garen. What am I going to get from that? He's playing Zac. What am I going to get from that? Well, now he's in semi-pro with you, and you got to respect it.
We'll see how well they can actually continue this, because it's going up against one of the most experienced players in the entire league. But before we get into that, we have a game I would like to play called One of These Things Is Not Like the Others, and we're going to start off with Wildcard Gaming. And you got four players coming through. You know, there are Raccoons here. Moose Hater in their first split, Lens in their first split, Duo King in their second, and Keel only in their third split in the Challengers League or the previous equivalents. And then you have Soligo, who's been playing LCS for a while as kind of the one player who kind of stands out in terms of how much experience they have, and has been a really big part of what I have to imagine is the communication on this team, as definitely the leader, the one person they brought in to have a stable lane so that the rest of the team can start to grow.
Yeah, not one of the most flashiest players, but a lane you can count on, a lane you can always depend on, has been one of the more consistent players, and now raising the rest of the Trash Pandas alongside Wildcard, Joshi.
And of course, we have to look at their opponents as well. In TSM, we got another one! Not quite like the others.
I disagree with this.
We'll talk about it in a sec. Now, we do have Rocks in instead of Dragku, but Dragku has been playing in the LCO for the past couple of years, and every other person on the team, other than Doxa, has been to Worlds multiple times thus far, and Doxa's the first time is like, hey, I've been playing in Collegiate, I've had some good time in the semi-pro ecosystem, but he's oftentimes been one of the better players, if not the star of his own team, and it's why we coined the Doxa diff a while back.
I'm just saying, LCO is not technically ran by Riot, but CLOL is, and Doxa has a 2021 CLOL trophy, Josh. That counts for something.
That's fair, but it is CLOL. I mean, Dragku has had a pretty good time over in the LCO as well. So it's definitely one of those things where you kind of look at, and I want to zoom in on Doxa a little bit because, we'll do that a little bit in Champion Select. I'll let you get your piece in, Eric.
Yeah. You know what? I'm a big Doxa fan, so screw you, Josh, and screw your memes. You know, I'm gonna get out of this whole entire broadcast now. I'll leave the Champion Select to you. So have a good time, except for you, Josh. Just Rafa, I love you.
Bye, Eric.
Quiero mucho, mi hermano. Thank you.
I wish it had been a pleasure, but I wanted to spend a little bit of time talking about Doxa as one of the players that we know a fair bit about, but newer viewers might not have seen before. Doxa is a player that has played on a number of amateur teams and semi-pro teams and collegiate teams in the past. Most famously, we kind of have to look at the fact that I believe it was Winthrop for a long time that he was playing for, and the Wichita Wolves and St. Louis University. He's been over a bunch of teams. But I made a claim a while ago that I think is going to be very true for Doxa, where he has been the Doxa diff in so many of their games historically. So many of the different teams that he's been on have been about this guy. This team is not going to be about Doxa. Yes, Doxa is one of these pieces that they are going to be bringing up and trying to develop, but he's now surrounded by 3 veterans who are going to tell him, shut up, Doxa, this game is not about you, I need you to take a step back and don't make those crazy plays. We're playing around Haunter today, or we're playing around Wild Turtle, and I think that ego check will be really good for Doxa's development.
Especially considering that most of the teams that Doxa has been on, he is the star, right?
Yeah.
He is the one that a lot of people want to funnel resources into. You know, fun fact, you mentioned a lot of teams that Doxa was on. I'm surprised you didn't mention TSM Amateur back in the day. So, I mean, when their first mid lane choice was not available anymore, TSM Challengers went, oh, you know what, Doxa, we had you in our pipeline at some point. Why don't we bring you back and make your official Challengers League debut? As we are now kicked off in the draft phase, TSM Challengers taking note and respect of the big flex picks potential from Zach taking it off the table. And so that means Sejuani was for the taking. Wildcard just answer on back with some standard stuff and the Ash.
Yeah, we'll get back into it when Wildcard does something a little bit more exciting, which will happen. And this is, again, going to be one of the big tests for both TSM and Wildcard, right? TSM have not had a strong showing off the bat. Partly, it's, we can say part of it is because of the fact that they have been playing with different supports throughout their scrims, throughout the actual play. We're still waiting for Dragku and a lot of our other Oceanic players to get their visas approved so they can come here and play in North America. But it's also a little bit surprising, right? Hauntzer has been one of these players that during their stints in the Academy and the Challengers ecosystem has typically dominated a lot of the opposition, showing that they are still, a good player at this level. The question has always been, are they so good that they deserve another chance like Dokla to move up to the next level?
Sure.
It's been up and down. There's definitely times where we've said yes, and there's been other times where we're like, he's good, but is he currently at his peak? And there we go. We get the Garen coming out once again against the Jags. And now we'll see if those scrim data is worth anything.
Yeah, TSM Challengers were willing to say, we think the Zac is worth the ban, not necessarily the Garen with our last pick of choice. And for them, we recognize that with Sejuani in, you have double melee solo laners now given available. So there's flexibility in which solo laner you want to start playing towards, because both will have great 2v2 skirmish ability, but Wildcard still say, I mean, Moose Hater, if there's anyone that's going to know the Garen into X matchup, he's going to know it, and he feels comfortable taking it into the Jax.
Yeah, I mean, the Jax is a fairly recent rework, but Moose Hater will know it better than basically anybody else, because there's not a lot of high elo Garen mains. One of my favorite streamers of all time, Rist, R-I-S-T-E, go check him out. He's a very positive Garen main that's been sitting in Masters and Grandmasters historically. But it's one of those things where, who plays against this at the high elo? There's not a lot of players. And so, moving into the rest of the draft, one of the big things that's surprising to me is the fact that Wildcard have not yet picked up an AD carry, because I'm assuming that Duo King is actually going to be the one who's going to be playing as Ashe.
Always the flex option available, but you're right. I mean, most of us have been just seeing the Ashe in the support role. Lens could kind of break the surprise factor if that's where they want to go for, but they already know what Doxa is going to be playing with this Akali in the mid lane, so you might want to hold that in for the last pick.
Yeah. I wonder if this is a Jhin. No, instead it is going to be an Azir. This is a classic Sligo champion. It's a little bit surprising because a lot of players have really enjoyed picking the Akali into the Azir as a bit of a counter pick, because you do have kill threat starting at level 3. But Sligo, given him one of his most classic champions, makes a lot of sense. And a classic lane coming out from Wild Turtle and Rocks with the Xayah plus the Nautilus. We've been vocal in the past in the Challengers League about how we feel about Nautilus. We're not super convinced it's very good, and there's enough other champions on the other side that I think that this is mostly going to be on Wild Turtle to show that they have the ability to play with the Nautilus. And I know there's going to be a lot of spam in chat for Duo King right now because he's going to get the classic cow.
So, a couple things to note on, just based off of these last two picks for both teams. TSM Challengers, Xayah Nautilus probably isn't the most, signature duo for a bot lane, but I think what this says to us is that TSM Challengers is saying, hey, Rox, we know that we're still waiting on our starting support, Dragku, to be approved in terms of visa and be able to get over here, and we just want to make your games here as easy and as comfortable as possible. We're going to give you Nautilus. You have a point-and-click ultimate. Anytime we tell you to go in, you just press that, and it's easy to execute. Nothing to fumble, right? And for Wild Turtle, if he's playing Xayah, you are basically self-reliant. Everyone on TSM Challengers is going forward, and they're saying, Wild Turtle, good luck, buddy.
Good luck. Yeah. I mean, I don't really blame TSM for this, right? You look at Roxa and their history, and they haven't had a whole lot of, big showings at anything. And when they were playing with Converse, I think almost all the talk at the time during the CLO Championships was about the AD carry Scary Jerry, right? And that was a big player that some people were saying might have an opportunity to play at Challengers League this time around. But now, Rox is going to have to prove that they deserve to hang here. And I know Duo King was in chat earlier being very sad that they weren't in our Canadian piece. If you keep going, maybe you'll have a chance to do that. But running on to the Rift, both sides are going to be very much about this brutal melee and just hitting each other in the middle of the fight while you have a couple of AD carries in his ear pumping in damage.
Yeah.
So Soligo's safety is almost definitely going to be the difference between one of these teams winning fights and the other team winning it.
I know chat can hear it, but we're getting a little folk music right now in the background, and it's very soothing. I kind of wish everyone else at home could hear it, but alas, maybe we can get it clipped and send it out to the masses on Destrux's next album drop. We should get one at some point.
Yeah, Eric, I know you're practicing, but, you know... Anyway, we'll see if he figures it out. Anyway, look at that, 89% to 90% to 10%. There's a lot of fans coming in from Wildcard, and I'm not really surprised. I feel as though TSM Challengers is not really getting a fair shake in a lot of ways. Yes, they're a team where they have a ton of more experienced players, and you know the common sentiment has been that they are all paycheck stealers. But I mean, I think one of the most important things we have to remember is that in spring, Dokla was our most valuable prospect as somebody who played back in like 2015, 2016, and these guys can all have an opportunity to move back up into LCS as well. Just because you're old doesn't mean you cannot continue to grow.
Also, Mad Magical with a tweet, shout out. I'll wear all red next time I cast them if Wildcard go 2-0 against TSM Challengers. That's a hefty bet.
Yeah.
I don't think that's not necessarily a punishment to those, but it's just more of an ode. It's like, hey, if you guys do this well, I will wear red in your honor. Let's see if Wildcard can rise up to the task.
Yeah. It is going to be a situation where I think they absolutely can. And I love the way that we see Duo King on this Alistar just creating space and making sure that rocks can never hit Lens because you will have to hit the cow instead. But looking where the junglers are going, they're doing very different paths, right? Keel has been one of our more inventive junglers so far since they have joined the Challengers League. And look at that, 2 pings, 3 pings coming through. I'm guessing that's from Svenskeren, almost exactly predicting the path coming out from Keel, but the order will really matter.
Yeah, they had a ward on top of it, so they had information saying where Keel would be or might be. So just great tracking from the side of TSM. Svenskeren making his way towards the top side of the map. If Keel wants to attack this top side, Svenskeren will be in the area. It'll just come down to timing. But just as I say that, Keel making a beeline towards the other side of the map instead with this Raptor camp.
Yeah, that looks like a call from Moose Hater saying, hey, they got a ward down in Tribrush, and Keel's like, I don't want to hop over the Baron Pit. It's too much time committed for this potential gank. And so Wildcard will be backing up, and one of the things that they will have to do, I expect, is find more opportunities to be really aggressive. And wow, this is an early rotation coming out from Rocks, because it looks like they managed to get the wave
he
under.
snuck through! No, they don't know! He snuck through right in the little pocket of vision as Keel was just walking on over, and it doesn't result in a kill, but that is a huge flash burn from Soligo.
Yeah, one of the things that we always have to recognize as well is, you know, and Cubby will bring this up, is the fact that Azir's mana pool is god-awful. And look at this, Moose Hater is getting pushed out, but he warded for a lane gank.
And Svenskeren is right here. Counter-Strike, stuns up Moose Hater, gets his flash out, looking for the stun. Do they have enough damage? Yes, they do! Haunter and Svenskeren making it happen. First blood for TSM.
Good rotations from TSM Challengers right off the bat. You see Sven go up towards the top lane, recognize he doesn't need to do anything mid, and now Keel's looking for Doxa.
I mean, he's going to flash forward, but does he have enough damage onto it? Doxa, no, he's not even afraid. He realizes that Keel uses everything, his full spell rotation, not even needing to flash.
Yeah, I'm surprised Doxa's the kind of player who would oftentimes throw out like emotes, but nothing coming out right there. And so
all business, all seriousness now in the TSM camp.
Yeah. I mean, Doxa has been, a fantastic player, but giving Haunter this lead is going to be really significant. One of the characters that I've always prided Haunter on is his ability to play Gnar, one of my favorite characters, but I mean, just giving him a lead here, he's going to be able to back away. Does he get it off? He does, and now he can teleport back into the lane, catch this wave, and already has the Sheen. This is a massive opportunity for Haunter to start accelerating through the top lane, and no help just quite yet, but you are very self-sufficient on this, Jax.
I imagine with those Sheens, those trades are going to be brutal. And Svenskeren checking for pockets of vision, but because that crab only sees within the circle and not necessarily the pit, Svenskeren can look for a very early dragon right at the 5-minute mark.
Yeah. Wildcard not necessarily playing to their outs, I feel like. They're not necessarily creating a lot of pressure on the map, and now they're going to come up and try and contest this dragon, but they don't have prio in the mid lane, and Keel's not close.
700, 600. There's a smite from Svenskeren. They're going to look to fight here. Duo King says it's go time, but Doxa has first move, so he's going to get here, and Duo King is getting burned down before the rest of Wildcard can make their collapse. Doxa is still only level 5, so no perfect execution available, but this is tricky. Soligo, remember, burn flash, kill, burn flash as well for Doxa. They didn't get nothing, and it's just completely taken down by TSM.
I'm gonna be real, Duo King fans. Your boy kind of inted there. That was wild. They came in piecemeal, one at a time. You saw that Keel and Soligo weren't really able to get into the fight at all. Lens got some auto attacks off, but you know, at best that was a 2v3 for a while. Then it was a 3v4 because Duo King dies, and I'm not really sure what the plan was coming up from Wildcard. And TSM, they don't need to do anything particularly exciting. They auto-attack down one target after another. And then the only real point where they have to make a big decision is, do they try and leave over the wall, or do they go in for the fight? And they're like, yeah, that's in his ear. He doesn't do anything right now, and we're going to take him down. And so TSM Challengers, well on their way to a big lead, but I also don't want to jinx it, because we know what happened last time I said the game was over.
Yeah. The Challengers League special. Just when you think that a team surely has taken the lead and should just be able to close out the game from there.
Yeah.
Whether you want to call it disaster, whether you want to call it a miracle, you know, it depends on which team you're rooting for at the end of the day.
Yeah. So now TSM is going to be walking forward, creating a lot of space, and with so much extra lead, the fact that all the gold is like so evenly distributed is wild. And look at this, Moose Hater has no flash. Svenseren's coming in.
Both he and Hanser have flashes available. Just waiting for Moose Hater to step on up, but I think Moose Hater knows that something is a little sus in the way, so he just has to sacrifice.
Oh, he's out of experience range.
Oh, that's really tough.
Okay, now he's back in. He will at least get this cannon, but I mean, look at the way this wave is moving.
He knows. Like, even though he never got visual confirmation that Svenskeren was in the area, just the movement as well, and just timing. Good communication from Wildcard, or good intuition from Moose Hater, just knowing that there could have been something there, but already so much control from TSM in this early game.
Yeah, I'm really worried for Moose Hater in this game. They've had a great showing so far at the beginning of the LCS Challengers League, but the CS lead is going to grow, and this is one of the experience things as Duo King gets caught up. Here's Keel.
Doesn't have flash, but he wants to go for it because he knows that Keel is in his back pocket. Cyclone is available, and it's this time Wildcard punishing the overextension of TSM.
And Lens getting the kill. Duo King and Lens just willing to stand their ground, and Rocks, the rookie from Converse University, ends up going down. But Svenskeren, I mean, recognizes it and instantly moves to trade on the map, taking away a couple of camps from the Monkey. And so far, feels as though Wildcard, you know, they really need to create a little bit more pressure, especially towards the top side, because they got this counter pick, or they got this Garen matchup. They made sure that they could pick it up before it got banned out. That's a lot of faith in Moose Hater, and unfortunately, they are falling desperately behind in Micah Dove.
Svenskeren and Doxa both leaning towards the top side of the map first before Soligo and Keel can get into position. So Moose Hater, for him, he is forced to hug his tower for safety until all threats leave the area.
Yeah. And Svenskeren in particular, I feel like, has been having a good game, and everybody else is just kind of a recipient of the way that Svenskeren has moved around the map, right? He was the one who got the first kill into Moose Hater. He was the one who moved down and actually started up the Dragon, where they baited in Wildcard into a huge fight. And now Hanser is the other person, right? Like, even though, you know, the first kill wasn't entirely their doing, and there's a lot of help coming up from Svenskeren, Hanser is getting a huge lead.
Completely taking advantage of the pressure and the resources that has been given to him. And this is, on the one hand, this is kind of what you expect. And everyone had questions for this roster coming into it because we haven't seen them play in semi-pro or professional for quite some time. But I know, talking with Cubby, that he had been tracking Hanser and knowing that he had still been visibly grinding solo queue and maintaining that challenger rank as well. So at least Hanser, very familiar with knowing how to still play the game at the top level.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember who it was that actually messaged Svenskeren. It's like, hey, what are your goals for the year? Like, what are your team's goals? And the response was very curt. It was Eric. Well, thank you, Eric. And their response was, we're just trying to get back to LCS, lol. And it's one of those things where, again, you know, we need to make sure that these guys get a fair shake. They are still down here. They do have opportunities to continue growing. And while there are some younger players that can be exciting prospects for the future, they're going to have to beat these guys at some point. You know, like, whether it's just in the Challengers League or if it's going to be elsewhere, you have to prove that you are better than these guys in order to ever get looked at for an LCS slot. And so far, the veterans are coming through and saying, well, it's not yet.
Wildcard, a lot of fans on their side might have been hoping for an undefeated run continuing after TSM Challengers, but this is a
rough start.
Yeah, rough start. Game's not over, as we called it before, but I mean, already just on time. Svenskeren, super proficient with these dragon timings, leveraging the advantage from Wild Turtle and Rocks. This is already creating an advantage where, depending on what soul they get, I mean, then it's going to force Wildcard to start proactively making decisions faster.
Yeah, and I love the fact that, again, giving Wild Turtle and Rocks this, this pairing allows Rocks to have a very easy time of it. You know, whether you could say it's that they don't have a lot of faith in him, but it's also the fact that they haven't had a whole lot of time to practice with him either, you know? They don't have a great read necessarily on what kind of player they are. And so Wild Turtle, very self-sufficient. As you called out earlier, Rocks will have a very straightforward job later on. And one of the things that's really interesting is it gives TSM this really strong 1-3-1 opportunity later, where Saligo won't really be able to match Doxa super well just because Akali will kill him in the side lane. Yeah,
right,
I mean, everything's coming up TSM. What's up?
Yeah, no, and just taking stock a couple minutes away before turret plates fall. I mean, so far, TSM have been insanely proficient with their time, since Karen now using the Rift Herald to give more plate gold into Hanser's back pocket. It's not going to take out the turret anytime soon, right? But Keel is forced to be here to protect Moose Hater in case anything got a little precarious. Has to use Cyclone because they were trying to burn down this Rift Herald as fast as possible, and they're trying to see if they could catch Hanser and Svenskeren in time before Lenz's Ash Arrow connected, and that could have been a nice look. Fortunately for them, Svenskeren and Hanser are able to get out.
Yeah, and here we go. Rock spending a little bit of time towards the top side as well. Hanser very okay, and Keel is unsure if he's allowed to walk into his own jungle. Just the amount of time that he was spending there, which would be a very awkward situation. Goes over the wall. That's kind of brave. Not necessarily seeing if people had already left, but this time he is rewarded, and look at this, Svenskeren just faster on the map saying, haha, I'm here first.
Dude, Svenskeren rushing that Radiant Virtue. I mean, people might underestimate this, like, oh yeah, it's not necessarily a combat mythic. Oh, nice. Okay, nicely done, Keel. Oh, Svenskeren might be a little pissed about that one. Glacial Prison doesn't necessarily get the stun down. It's the slow, and forces Duo King to pop his ultimate in trade. No blue buff stolen for Svenskeren, but they still get full control of this jungle, and it's still the pressure that is being pressed upon Wildcard.
Yeah, I mean, Svenskeren is taking total control of this game at this point. Keel's definitely a player that we're still excited about, though, but this is definitely not one that went in their favor, and at this point, Keel's going to really struggle to know where it is that they are safe to go, because look at this, Svenskeren is instantly, he's not even forming his own camps, he's just going from one quadrant of Keel's jungle to the other.
Josh, have you ever been counter-jungled by a Sejuani before?
I don't jungle very much, so probably not.
Well, true. I mean, it feels somewhat demoralizing sometimes, because you're like, oh, what? I'm playing Wukong. I should be able to match up against what is just a tank, right? But I mean, this is a season where Sejuani gets to thrive, and now Keel is forced to try and force the opposition here, but Hanser's waiting on the other side of the wall. Counter-Strike stuns him up, but Moose Hater cleans up Svenskeren with Demacian Justice, but Hanser now finds Saligo, forces him to flash, but he's got a flash of his own, has the movement speed available to clean up Saligo on the Counter-Strike. And yes, Wildcard were trying to defend whatever they could in their jungle, but it's just more and more advantages being leveraged to TSM.
Yeah, it's a couple more opportunities for Kevin Yarnell to flex as he goes in.
There's no Demacian Justice from Moose Haters, so Hanser actually wants to take this one, has the Lethal Temple stacked up. Gonna back away for now.
Great usage of the W as well from Moose Hater to block out the stun, get all the bonus tenacity and damage reduction. But TSM, they're just taking control of the map. The top quadrant has been TSM's for a while. The mid lane opens up, meaning it's easier to go over there. Doxa still ahead in CS up against Saligo in this matchup. It's not supposed to be this good, and so TSM, only place where they are arguably not ahead is the bottom lane, where Wild Turtle is basically even with Lens. But, I mean, that's the only place where it's not an obvious lead. And so as we take another look at this, TSM just have total control. They have more people coming faster. It's just a little bit chaotic and all over the place, right? As Hanser moves over, takes him a while to actually get involved because he's waiting for the double spin brothers to be done with their spin so he doesn't knock himself up immediately upon going over the wall, and that's enough time for Svenskeren to get burst down. But after that, it's more Hanser flexing all over the rift as he bonks away and picks up Sligo.
Yeah, and this is where the experience really comes into play. A lot of times, challenger teams might be struggling to figure out, okay, we have this advantage. Where do we force fight? So you usually wait for set pieces in Rift Heralds or Dragons to fight. But, I mean, TSM, they're going to fight you on every single camp. They're going to fight you at blue buff. They're going to fight you on red buff. Hell, we might even see fights over some chicken nuggets in the future just because how fast TSM want to play this advantage out.
Now TSM going to be starting up the Rift Herald, and there's not a whole lot that Keel can do. Forced to use the clone to get out of there, and there's another dragon. It's a cloud this time coming through, and so TSM, I mean, they are just taking everything across the map. Doxa looking, not finding.
Sligo thanking his lucky stars, making sure that Doxa was not in range because he's got no flash when he would be forced to use the Emperor's Divide, and at this point with the Hextech Proto Belt, I'm not familiar with lethal ranges for a Akali into the Azir matchup since I don't play mid lane, but
I mean, if you have the... Basically, what you need to know is... Oh, we'll get back into that. And Scarin charging down.
Yeah. Notice how Duo King is like positioning himself so that he can block the Glacial Prison because he can just trade ulti. Just damage reduction there. He's not going to go down, but it's ulti for ulti, and now they look for the trade. What? Another trade of ultimate spells. Ash Arrow for Xayah ultimate. Both teams walk away.
Yeah. So what you need to know, Mark, is Akali, if they hit 3 of 4 spells, will usually just outright kill Azir, right? You need to land 3 Qs or 2 Qs and an E. And sometimes you only need to land 1 Q and an E, and at that point, you just kill the Azir pretty much straight up. But we see it in another fight.
Gotcha.
No ultimates coming for Duo King.
No teleports for either top laner quite yet, even from Hanser. Keel engages with Cyclone, but gets bursted down. Too much damage from the side of TSM. They're just stat checking at this point. And Wildcard, I know you wanted to look for an opportunity, but you have to respect the advantage that TSM are rocking with right now, because now they are making you pay for it in dividends.
Oh yeah, once again, Wildcard trying to make something happen, but they just don't have the damage. Sligo stayed safe the entire time. Bottom lane falls, 3 members fall, Hunts are moving down. They're continuing to do damage as that is 3 dragons already going over towards the challengers, and they're going to get a charge into the second turret and probably take the entire thing. Again, another 2 kills with the gold getting picked up for TSM all at once.
8,000 gold lead at 18 minutes. Objective bounties. This is the, we used to call, what is the pity prizes back in the last year. This is where even the game is saying, hey,
you're losing.
Wildcard, you need some help.
Yeah, good luck. Yeah, we'll see if Wildcard can kind of mount a comeback in this one. The big thing that I was talking about was that Sligo's safety was going to be paramount to Wildcard actually finding a victory, but, I mean, right now he just doesn't do damage. It doesn't matter if he's safe, because the front line is crumbling for Wildcard. But with that in mind, I kind of want to go back to what has been our star of the show thus far, as Svenskeren has been playing this game immaculately, right? Continuously pushing Keel around, taking all of his camps, and as you said, it's demoralizing to be counter-jungled by a Sejuani. But this is a guy who spent most of his career on teams like Cloud9 and Evil Geniuses since he came towards North America, and of course the 2 years that they spent on TSM before that. But they didn't do a whole lot in 2022. They were let go from Evil Geniuses, and while they subbed in for Cloud9, it's basically an entire year off, and it feels like they haven't skipped a beat.
Yeah, I think Svenskeren was brought in as, I don't remember if it was like a positional coach role or like an assistant coach role, but it was just involved with the infrastructure
Wasn't
on
it like a
Cloud9's side.
6-man roster, quote-unquote, except Blabber played the entire time?
I don't remember. Well,
oh,
now,
Sligo!
Okay, Sligo, potentially a nice angle onto Svenskeren and Hanser. A lot of damage. Demacian Justice forces Hanser to flat, but he finds Lens, and that's a prime target for the Box Sticks to just rip him to shreds. Wildcard, I mean, I appreciate the optimism. I love the enthusiasm. Just go for a play because you got no other choices left. It's just TSM have the stat check. Pretty much check marked at this point.
All right. Mark, I feel much more comfortable saying go next at this point. That is disaster. So Ligo, I mean, it looked about as good as it could have been, but as you called out, as soon as Haunter gets over the wall to take out Lens, like, there's nothing left. They're getting the Baron at 20 minutes. They are getting prepared to pick up the mid lane turret. More gold getting funneled over to Doxa, and they also have access to the Dragon in about 2.5 minutes, which will give them the Cloud Soul. Everything is lining up Millhouse, and by Millhouse I of course mean TSM. They are just doing everything right. And Wildcard, they've tried a couple of times, but the first fight that they tried to take at the Dragon was not it.
Right. Just want to go back again to giving Svenskeren all the credit and the props that we are due as we...
Yeah, I mean, we don't really need to talk about this fight. Like, it's mostly just a wallet fight, right? So Ligo tries, and then Hunter kills Lens, and there's no damage left.
Yeah.
But anyway, talk about Svenskeren.
Yeah, so this guy in this game so far, I mean, when you have control and when you have a lane opportunity to create pressure on one side of the map, and then you are pretty much gifted that, I think what you called it, just an oopsie from Duo King at the first or the second dragon. Mm-hmm. At that point, you just want to continue leveraging and ramming that advantage as much as you can, right? You need to continue pushing the tempo when you have every opportunity to fight over any possible skirmish opportunity. So this is why, like, if there's any aspiring junglers that want to look at, like, what textbook gameplay from a jungler when they have a lead is looking like, you just go back through this game. The fact that Svenskeren is pressuring every single jungle camp, it doesn't matter if he's playing a tank, he has strong solo laners that can always call on to collapse.
Yeah, I mean, that's something that both Haunter and Svenskeren did, is they didn't just win their lane, they did what they could to remove their opponent from the game. And that's something that is not something often seen at this level of play, right? Where you just go and you try and deny them all the waves. I mean, I've heard it described as a conspiracy, right?
Oh,
as Haunter just kills them.
Haunter recognizes that he doesn't have enough movement speed to get away from the last turret shot, so he just gets more damage in.
Yeah.
Shut down over to Moose Hater, but man, this is...
There's a small criticism. Auto-attacking the wrong target probably is what killed him, but hey, you know, it is what it is. He almost got the structure, and now Doxa goes to pick it up relatively easily, and Haunter can teleport right back on the map as inhibitor turrets get cracked at 23 minutes. Wildcard do not have the time to scale, and so Ligo will never have time to become a relevant damage threat. And so TSM should just pretty cleanly pick this one up in probably the next 5 minutes or so.
Yep. Inhibitor towers taken out, but not the inhibitors themselves. The Dragon Soul is pretty much on time. I think this is one of the earliest souls we have seen taken by any team in the Challengers League. Maybe Cloud9 has one in their back pockets. We'll have to double check stats, but
this is probably the fastest this split so far, right?
Yeah.
It is 23.5 minutes. That's like 3.5 minutes. No, that's like almost as fast as possible.
Yeah.
Right? It's very close. And so TSM are now in a position where they can just line up. And so one of the things that we were giving props to Wildcard at the beginning of the series is that you kind of have to play their game in Champion Select, right? And to quote from Myra, you need to have a bit of a spreadsheet ready to draft against exactly this team. But the only thing, I mean, you know, the Alistar is a Duo King special. Excuse me. But this is a very standard draft coming up from Wildcard, which is not what we're used to seeing.
And given the fact that TSM Challengers were ready to tango with the Garen pick, and it only felt like Zac was the only potential issue they could deal with, it's one of those things where, especially in a non-best-of-1 game, since these are best-of-2, you can say, okay, if we lose to the Garen, then we're going to have to start banning it, right? But if you're able to deal with the Garen, the niche pick, then it doesn't matter if they continue relying on it in future drafts, at least for another matchup.
Yeah. And so I think this has been a bit of a statement, but again, it's mostly been about Svenskeren on this Sejuani taking so much control. And so as we start looking towards the next game, I kind of want to see Kiel kind of go back to some of like the mage junglers, like the Fiddlesticks perhaps, something that you can really throw your opponents off, especially if you can start controlling vision.
I mean, I would love to see Fiddlesticks. I think you would have to take a lot of junglers off the table, though, to make it work. I mean, maybe... I don't know, man. Anytime someone tells me, oh, you should play a mage jungler, it's like, I mean, I would love to play Sylas, but there's a... There's a lot of things that need to happen in the game, and that's why he's a solo queue hub stomper, not necessarily being picked in pro play at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, that makes sense, right? I mean, that's one of the things that is really big about these players that do pick these more out-of-the-way champions, is you have to be ready to play them in matchups where you say, I'm going to play them better. And I feel like that's easier in the top lane, because you are directly interacting with your opponent all the time, whereas Svenskeren can be like, you know, I don't want to interact with you at all, so I'm just not going to, as they do so much damage to do okay.
Okay, they're looking for Wild Turtle, but he's holding his big ultimate button and just completely not deterred. He's not phased at it by all. He doesn't need to pop the Featherstorm anytime soon. Did they just turn the damage right back on the Duo King and they turned him into TSM's next lunch meal? I don't know.
Hamburger.
Yeah.
Oh,
That's
rocks.
meat. Okay, so Ligo, another look here. I mean, this is... We can hype up and ramp up in team fighting and play-by-play calls all we want, but this is just TSM ready to close out this game unless a disaster or miracle happens from this point. But they all just pile drive right on top of Lens. Moose Hater is doing his damnedest. They're going to try as much as they can, but TSM, damn, what a dominant game and a dominant way to cut off what... Oh my god, Doxa, that was slick.
That's rude. That's rude.
It was rude, but it was slick.
It was well done. And now as they go close out the game, a relatively clean, very straightforward game. This is, if you're looking for things, this is worth doing and looking back at, even if you didn't play, because it's one of those things where it's like, yeah, that was textbook League of Legends being played by TSM. They were basically gifted a lead, and then from there, they just choked out their opponents the entire time. That is oftentimes what you would have expected a lot of these players at their prime to do to a lot of the Challenger League teams, but it's game one. Now we have to start looking towards game two. I don't feel like Wildcard really showed up for this game, and so we'll have to see what they can do, whether they can stack the deck for another round.
All right, well, you can never count out stack the deck. Classic hashtag here in the semi-pro and the grassroots scene for League of Legends. But we're going to be taking a short break. When we come back after that dominant victory from TSM, we're going to see if Wildcard can maybe throw another punch right on back and tie up the series, or if it'll just be 2-0. But we got one more halftime show as well with Desterux, so make sure you stick around.